What is up, beautiful people? It's Wolf Brother Mythos from the channel Frost and Fists, and welcome to tonight's show. Tonight, of course, we're going to be taking a look at some of the new models announced, like a new Phoenix Lord for the Eldar. We'll be looking at this year's Red Gobbo, a constant holiday favorite, especially for those of us who love orcs and goblins. And we'll look at some of the upcoming releases for Kill Team now. A couple of those are going to be new. We know we've got some cool new stuff coming out with like the Orc Tank Bustas and the Ratlings, but of course a lot of these ones that they've announced are really just repackages of older kits, which at least they are getting repackaged and some of their rules are, you know, being updated. There has been a trend with some of these smaller side games lately that, you know, after about 3 years they kind of kick some of these older teams to the curb. So it's good to see that some of these are getting refreshes. Telemachus, good to see you in the chat. Greetings, people of the Dark Void. Good to see you, my friend. And Brother Garrett, howdy. Good to see you, my brother. So, how is everyone tonight? What y'all been doing for fun? What y'all got for a poke chop? I'm interested to know. As a big mess up for the show, usually I love to start the show with a cup of coffee. I didn't have time to make one right before the show, so I've just got me a sparkling water tonight. Hopefully I'll actually, you know, I mean, I should be able to power through, right? Maybe I don't need coffee every time. Watch me be dying. It's just like ready for that next cup of coffee within the next 10 minutes. Listening to Raven Guard lore on Audible. Nice. I think the only Raven Guard lore I've read is the 30k stuff where it's like, you know, from Korax's point of view. But Raven Guard are pretty awesome. Actually, I've heard a couple, still 30k, but a couple that weren't Korax focused. There was the one Raven Guard twin swordsman, I can't remember his name, but he was the twin swordsman that managed to beat Lucius the Eternal in a bout of blades. However, you know, we all know the curse that happens after you manage to beat Lucius the Eternal. If you defeat him, you become him. So, he was a cool character while he was still him. Everything you found is 30k. Nice. Ah, Shuriken. There you go. Nicona Shuriken. Brother Roxas. Good to see you, my brother. Yo. I'm hyped for our D&D game Brother Roxas is a part of. We'll be playing some D&D on Wednesday. Now, that's a private game. That one won't be up. But if you're interested in a recent roleplay, we've started our first episode. Well, technically our second episode, but the first one we had a lot of technical glitches, so we just kind of barely kick-started it, got through like the first little bit of story, and then we turned off the stream just because there's too many audio and technical difficulties. But our first episode, like actual episode of Twilight 2000 with Gamers with Coffee and Mini Warmutt went live last night. So that was I mean, that was fun. Now I got to tell you, there's not a lot of role play. There's little bits and pieces there role playing, but we're learning a brand new game, a brand new system, and we're working with a very brand new game master. And so while last night wasn't a lot of role playing, we were mostly focused on mechanics and how to play the game. I'm sure we'll get into the role playing more as we go along. My character. So you roll for everything in Twilight 2000. Like, you don't actually come up with your own backstory or who your character is or even what you're good at. You roll for everything. Your equipment, everything is rolled for. And I happened to get a staff sergeant that was a former Navy SEAL, and his class is called Operative. You know, like special agent, spy, or in my case, Navy SEAL. You know. And so, anyways, so I'm playing an operative named that's a staff sergeant. So I was like, and then of course, at one point you got to pick your they pick your handle or code name. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pick Sarge. And then, like, as a big fan of Red versus Blue from Rooster Teeth, I just decided to base that persona, that character's personality, off of Sarge for Red versus Blue. So actually, he's still alive. He didn't take any pride in killing Lucius. He likened it to putting down a rabid dog. Very cool. Maybe I misremembered. I thought he was taken as part of the curse. So I have been continuing. So my own pork chop. And anyone, feel free to keep talking about the things that you've done hobby-wise this week. And I mean like tabletop hobby, I mean video game hobby, whatever it is you're into. Yeah, just let me know what you guys have been up to. I always enjoy hearing about that. For myself, I went to start on, I had a rapier for my Imperial Guard that I need for an upcoming game. And I pulled it out. And I pulled the Battletech stuff I've got for my brother's Snow Ravens out. And I didn't realize I had come to the end of my bottle of black primer. These things last forever. I think in 8 years of doing the hobby, this is my second bottle of Vallejo surface primer. And so, yeah, I don't know. I guess I should have been able to feel that it was getting pretty empty, but I didn't realize it. So I've got some new stuff ordered coming Monday, so I can pick back up on my clan Snow Raven project. But yeah, that's coming Monday. I have not upgraded. I've been using Vallejo surface primer for forever. But because I'm a big fan of Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl paints, and a lot of people who are also fellow fans of Pro Acryl say that the Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl primer is even better than the Vallejo surface primer. And as much as I've been using this for the past 8 years, it does have its problems. It is not as strong or hard wearing as other primers I've used. It is easy to rub or chip away. And of course, being polyurethane based, you know, it can definitely, especially if you're priming a lot of stuff, it will clog up your airbrush at some point. So I love this stuff, but I know it's got problems. It ain't perfect. So I decided to give the Monument Hobby stuff a try. I'll let you guys know how it goes. But I decided just while I'm at it, because I wanted to try out Monument Hobbies primers in general, I also picked up some of their spray primer. And normally I use like just the surface primer for all my black priming, but yeah, I wanted to see what the Pro Acryl stuff was like. So I've got black primer 2 ways coming in sometime soon. He gave Lucius his first true death, but of course Chaos Hacks. Or plot armor. Yeah, Chaos Hacks, yep, for sure. Working on a skirmish miniature scenario for a Pulp Era game. Okay, Pulp Era. Okay, I gotta break out the Googles now. Pulp Era. But the first thing that comes up is Pulp Era science fiction. Became hugely popular during this time period, originally referred to as fantasy. The genre was renamed to science fiction in 1926. Okie dokie. So it's a type of science fiction, I'm guessing, from what I'm looking at. 30s-ish. Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. So I do have one thing. I managed to finish literally just one thing since I was last on. Just to show you real quick. Gamers with Coffee. Good to see you, my friends. Ashley, I hope you and Greg are doing well tonight. And screen capture. No, Chrome capture. Why are you not capturing my Chrome? Alright, screen capture it is. NVIDIA, screen 1, screen 2. You are just not cooperating with me tonight, are you? Okay, we'll take this and put it over on screen 2. And see if that works. Yes. Okay. Boom. Done. All right. Never mind all of the cat hair there. But yeah, so this is a rapier laser battery. It's a 4-barreled or a double twin-linked las cannon that the Imperial Guard can use. Usually keep a dude stationed behind it. And yeah, it's got shorter range and one less armor piercing than a traditional las cannon, but you're pumping out 2 twin link shots from it every turn, and it only costs like, I want to say 25, 35 points. And so if you have a few points left over at the end of your game, it is some great extra anti-tank to toss into your list. And yeah, I just finished painting mine up. Atlas, so unlike if I have a few extra points, it's great extra, anti-tank. Atlas is the other way. Atlas is like 35 points, for you can get, for just over 100 points, you can get 3 of those suckers. That's 6 shots, twin linked, so you're re-rolling wounds. It's pretty good. Pulp refused to the cheap pulp paper they used for inexpensive fiction in the 60s, 20s to 60s. All genres, really. Okay, that's cool. Have our 2-year-old granddaughter over. Greg always mentions that's his favorite miniature right there. Well, you guys enjoy your family time. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, so I didn't have the black. Oh, well, I started to put the black armor when this ran out. I did like most of the underside and the metallic parts when my primer ran out. But I did have my can of green primer from working on the Salamanders project for Kane. This is the one I originally bought like 3 years ago when I started working on Salamanders for Kane. And I just happen to have it, and it's still, this is Army Painter green skin, and this many years later it's still sprayed like a dream. I knocked out so many models primed for Kane this week. It was awesome. And not only not that prime models for Kane, but helped me get some primer down on my rapier laser batteries, so that way I could continue on painting. So that was cool. So yeah, that's the one thing I got finished this week. Not a lot, but a little bit of stuff there. So there's the rapier laser battery, and can't wait. We haven't, Atlas and I haven't set a date, but I can't wait to put this guy on the tabletop. It's funny, my Imperial Guard will be facing against his new Space Wolves army, and that's kind of backwards because for years and years and years and years, our main matchup was typically my Space Wolves versus his Imperial Guard. So it's come full circle now. And yeah, it's good to have this finished and painted and ready to get to the game. So like I mentioned, I ran out of black primer, but my green primer still worked. And I mentioned before, I have been printing and printing and printing like nobody's business because I want to work on this project it's just, I mean, it's a little self project. It's a wanting to do a secret boost of my brother Kane's salamanders before his birthday next month. His birthday is roughly mid-November, and yeah, I just want to see if I can add some more. So what I've done is I told myself, okay, I'm just going to print off a few things for his army, you know, just so that way he could play like a beginner game. You know, I printed him out, I think it was 300 points before or something like that. Or not printed him, I painted him up 300 points before. And that was before I had a printer, where I could just, you know, pop out units, you know, whenever I like. Now that I have a printer, I said, okay, I'll add him a couple of points. You know, maybe we can get him to play a 500-point game, a 750 game, or whatever. I didn't even print one of the tanks I was looking at, and I still, I may have gone overboard. I printed him 1,200 point, a little over 1,200 points, and just having a break from my damn airbrush. Next time, I'm just getting a spray primer for priming. Man, polyurethane primers can definitely clog up your airbrush, so I definitely understand that, my man. But I hope you're doing well, man. I was just, Nate, a professional 3D printer, I was just telling him a few, gosh, was it 2 weeks ago? Anyways, he put out one of his amazing 3D printing videos. If you guys ever want to see videos of a guy who can just flawlessly 3D print big things, little things, entire armies, kill teams, war bands, that's Nate's Miniatures. Go check out his channel. He has some fantastic miniature 3D printing content on his channel. But anyways, I was just watching his channel, and I'm like, hey man, I was very frustrated because I was getting to a point with my printer where it's like a third of every print would fail, and I was just like a third of the plate. And I was like, man, how did you get so good at printing? Because I keep getting so frustrated. Sometimes I'm just ready to be done with it. And anyways, he gave me some nice words. Gave me some advice, told me to check out, like, you know, group pages and Discord pages specifically for the brand of printer that I use, and I could get some good tips there and stuff like that. And anyway, so looking at some of that information, it seemed like maybe my FEP or FEP was the problem. It's the sheet of, I guess, plastic that your light shines through to cure the resin in your tank on the build plate. And anyways, I did notice that when I went and inspected it, there was some pretty hard to see, but like little, very small divots, like not like a puncture or anything, just like little bumps going down into my FEP. And I'm like, well, that's probably throwing off my leveling. So I ordered some a new FEP sheet, or a new FEP sheet, and I watched a few tutorials on how to get it changed out, and then of course I changed that out. I re-leveled it. You know, I did the, you know, I wanted to make sure I re-leveled, not only I re-leveled the print bed, but one of the things I looked at is that sometimes your surfaces or your legs can be a little uneven and wobbly, and you know, sure enough, I bought myself a level, because for some reason I didn't have one in my toolbox, which I feel pretty silly about. So I bought myself a level. And sure enough, it was like pretty, okay, it wasn't that cocked, but it was definitely not like as level as it should have been. So, you guys ever seen in your old school, remember your school days where you had like the chair desk combo where like the desktop was built into the arm of the chair? Those things were rickety all the time, right? And in almost every class you had one that was kept straight by somebody who folded up the piece of paper a lot of times, stuck it under one of those legs. That's kind of what happened with this. The one of the legs was a bit rickety, and it was so my FEP wasn't smooth, which was throwing it off, and my printer, the printer machine itself, wasn't fully level, and so I just took a few sheets of paper and folded it up until like I had that one leg the right height, and my printer machine was looking level again. I checked the print bed, or the print bed itself. The vat, you know, even when I put on the lid, check that, make sure everything was level. So I changed my FEP, leveled everything out, and calibrated my print bed, and now things have been printing smooth. Anyway, saying all that to say, I said I was going to print off a few extra points for my brother Kane's army, and he doesn't know about this, by the way. Those of you who are friends with him in real life, please don't say anything to him. I'm just pretty confident he doesn't watch the show. So, yeah, after all that, I was so excited that things were printing well. I started looking up more and more files, and I've accidentally printed him another 1,250 points for his army. So, it's too late. I already texted him. Don't do that. My printer isn't level and it prints fine. And you know, that's perfectly fine. These are just little things that I found that was recommended to me when I said I was having a lot of print failures. That could be the problem. And so I took that as a troubleshooting thing. Okay, if that's one of the things that could be the problem, I took a look at it, worked to fix it, and there was like 3 or 4 things that I ended up changing in my troubleshooting. I don't know which one of them fixed it, but it's been printing like a dream. So, may it continue to print like a dream. But I was really nervous about changing out the FEP because I have seen nightmare stories where somebody didn't tighten something down, or they over tightened it or whatever when they were installing it, and they went to print their next thing and they poured in the resin, and while it was printing out, resin just leaked through the bottom of the vat. Because essentially, at the bottom of your vat where you store your liquid resin, the bottom side of it is this clear film, this FEP, and so it if it doesn't have a good adhesion to the bottom of the vat, then your liquid can absolutely run through, and that's caused some problems for some people, especially if it runs onto your machine and you've got resin in the digital or mechanical parts, or if you get it on the screen that does the curing, it can be a big mess. So anyways, I was just very thankful that I watched some tutorials and it came out okay. Let's see. Me and Greg will be doing 1-page rules for Warhammer, but we're waiting on Greg's warsuit to get here. I need rubbing alcohol for my printer so I can print the Harpy, then we can game. Very nice. Leveling can cause so many issues. Simple to sort it out, though. Everyone needs a whiskey stick in their tool bag. Those community groups are awesome. More people to help out the issues. Yeah, and that's exactly right, because those groups, you're just drawing on a wealth of people's knowledge from people who've probably already faced some of the same problems. So that was a really good piece of advice you gave me. Mr. Fish, The Misadventures of Mr. Fish. He's Mr. Fish. I thought yesterday's stream was Friday. Anyways, happy Friday. Wow! Yes, we did a stream one day early yesterday doing our Twilight 2000. Anyone who's interested in checking it out, it is a lot of fun. And I did, I wanted to preface it though for those of you who are thinking about checking it out. So we're very, very early stages of learning right now. We're learning a new system, a new game. We're learning these new characters, because like you don't really design your characters, you roll for everything and kind of like it builds as you go. But the dice decide everything. You don't really have any agency or say in what your character, who your character is, where they came from, what they can do. And so we're kind of like learning our characters, learning the system, learning the mechanics, learning this world really, because it's an alternate timeline, right? It's a post-apocalyptic future. And I think it's so like it takes place where, I want to say, alternate World War II timeline. We all went over to Europe to fight the good fight. We got stuck there when the apocalypse happened, and that's kind of where everything picks up. Anyways, but because we are learning things, and not only are we learning, but our game master is learning too. He's the one kind of leading the way. He's read the majority of the material, but of course he's still learning it, we're still learning it. So saying all that to say, while the game is fun so far, there's a lot of focus on mechanics right now, and we haven't had a lot of role playing yet, because we are more focused on mechanics. So, if you go check it out, having seen like a really good D&D stream, it's not going to quite be that, because again, we're learning and we're focusing on mechanics. But I'm sure as we play together, we'll start feeling more our characters, and the role play will come more naturally. But like I said, if you're interested in an alternate timeline, post-apocalyptic kind of game, very Fallout-esque is what it feels like. Yeah, definitely recommend checking it out. Twilight 2000 really does have a good Fallout kind of vibe to it. And I turned out to be Preston Garvey in yesterday's episode, just because I happened to get the radio call, another settlement's in danger. So that's another part of my poke chop is I got we did Twilight 2000 yesterday. I've got D&D coming up on Sunday, so that'll be fun. I'm going to show you all the stuff that I printed out for Kane. Well, not all of the stuff, but some of the stuff. So first, I decided he's got a Redemptor Dreadnought, but it's his only vehicle so far. So I started with this. I printed him a Vindicator tank, so that'll be cool. I left off the shield and the tracks because I want to prime them black separately, because what I want to be able to do is I want to do the shield, the siege shield in black, and then try airbrushing some flames across the bottom of it, because I think the black and the flames against the green of the tank will look very classic Salamanders-y. And then, of course, tracks just, to me, look better when you can start from black and work your way up to metallics and then get them nice and weathered up. So got him a Vindicator tank. He once expressed to me that his favorite Salamander's character was Vulcan Heston. And I actually picked up a Vulcan Heston sometime towards the beginning of the year. But he just looks so dinky, so small compared to the Primaris guys. I happen to find a pretty cool file for a Primaris-sized Vulcan Heston, and so I thought that was pretty cool. I got them printed out. Cameras, how do they work? So there's his dragon spear there. There's his wrist flamer, his big old dragon skin cape. Yeah, I think this is going to be a cool addition to lead his forces. I like the big dragon head here on the kneecap. That's pretty cool. Pork chop sandwich. Pork chops. I also, so I had this idea going into this project of printing out stuff where, for me, Adrax Agatone, the Primaris captain of the Salamanders, uses a great big two-handed hammer, just like Vulcan does. And so I decided, instead of trying to find a print that would work as Adrax, I would just get one of these cool prints of Vulcan. And yeah, I'm going to paint that up to be his Adrax Agatone. And he will lead some Blade Guard veterans. For Blade Guard veterans, I have a subscription to Station Forge, and they had their Space Marine line is called the Socratic Marines, and the Socratus Dragon Knights I thought was perfect. You're probably not going to be able to see a ton of the detail there. But like there's dragon scales on the chest there, dragon scales on the legs. The sword here for the Dragon Knight there's a dragon on the pommel of the sword. Even like the backpack or the power pack here has scales on it as well. So, and then like the little armor plates along the hips has dragon scales there too. Anyways, I thought that would just be really cool for a Blade Guard veteran. And they had a cool set of weapons you could pick. They had one sword. They had 2 sets of axes and 2 sets of hammers. And I wanted them to still be blades because, I mean, you know, blade guard, it's in the name. But since there was only one sword, I wanted the sword to be like the sergeant of the three. And then the other two, also in very similar but slightly different themed dragon armor. So like, you know, I've got little bits of a cloth here on the crotch guard. I'll remember what those are called. But yes, so there's like, it's cloth, but like there's pieces of dragon scale there too, to stop focusing on my big head. Now for some just moving it around, see if I can find. Okay, well it's just going to focus on my hand. Anyways, but yeah, so same kind of Dragon Knight armor, like different pose, but it's still the same kind of Dragon Knight armor with all the dragon scales. There's like a dragon head on the knees. Yeah, but all the cool accoutrements, except instead of a dragon sword, there's a big two-handed battle axe with the dragon head in the middle. So I think that's going to be cool to work as his Blade Guard veterans. Now, for some reason, these Dragon Knights came with a bolter in one hand and a power weapon, which I can't even think of a loadout unless you're using them as like sergeants or captains. I can't even think of a loadout where that would work. So what I did was I printed them off, I chopped them off at the wrist, and I found these really cool shields online that was basically a Blade Guard shield with a whole body dragon on it, which I think will be cool. Paint the shield up in black. I'll do the dragon and the borders in gold. It'll be simple, but I think it'll really pop out the black and gold against the green armor. And I know that Kane is such a big fan of dragons, I think he'll love those shields. You know, I never thought about it, but if you put some yellow on a salamander vehicle, you could put a John Deere decal on it. Oh yeah, especially since the seed shield here looks a bit like a John Deere kind of like tractor kind of plow, huh? Alright, so we got an Adrex Agatone, we got a Vulcan Heston, we got the Vindicator, we got 3 Blade Guard veterans, we have 10 Intercessor bodies, 5 to be Intercessors, so regular old Intercessor body here. I've left them just the stubs of their bodies, because it's just going to be easier to paint up the midsection on these guys and then glue on the bolters instead of trying to paint around the bolters. The Sergeant, of course, having, of course, the optimal Power Fist and Plasma Pistol loadout. Since his weapons don't go across his chest, I went ahead and glued his arms on. The Lieutenant, I did up a Lieutenant for him. Because I painted him Hellblasters last time. And Primaris Hellblasters are great sources of damage. The one problem they have is that plasma is no longer effective against vehicles because of their weaker... Well, the strength is the same. They haven't necessarily gotten weaker. Vehicles have gotten tougher, though. And so because they can't damage vehicles anymore, if you stick a Primaris Lieutenant with them, they can get lethal hits. And from those lethal hits, you know, you can start damaging vehicles again, which I think is cool. And so I was like, we need to get a Lieutenant to go with them. Where did I put this boy? There's that, there's that. Okay, that's worrisome. I should probably look to see where I put that. So very similar to the Dragon Knight armor I was showing you, though. It's from that same line of the Socrates Dragon Knights. And printed out some extra stuff for him. And I know I had him here. Did I move him? Ah, yes, I did move him. So check this out. So the Lieutenant also has the very good plasma pistol and power fist loadout. And come on, show off that chest. Show off that chest. He said, not for the first time tonight. Hey, baby, show off that chest. Anyways, there's a cool, there's like dragon bone kind of looking, there you go, embossment in the armor there, and then a big skull in the middle, which is pretty cool. And then there's, I printed out this torch to go on top. If you look at some of the Salamander's characters, like Adrex Agatone, they've got a big torch on top of their backpack. And so I printed one out and put it on this Lieutenant. And he's also in the same kind of dragon. This one's more like dragon bone armor. But anyways, he's in the dragon armor. He's got the thing on top. And I think that'll help denote that this chunky guy isn't just a regular Marine. But he'll be the Lieutenant. Plus, I think once I paint the flames as kind of flame colors, I think that'll also help, pick him out on the battlefield as, hey, this guy's special. Special! Alright, so, got a Lieutenant, got the Vulcan Hastan, Adrex Agatone, and then another HQ, there's going to be very HQ heavy. Melta all the way, absolutely, it's coming up. You're special, your face is special, how about that, Garrett? I did a Captain and Gravis armor, because flame, okay, so this is the relic sword and power fist with bolter, the bolter gauntlet. So pretty cool. You get the extra attack on the relic blade. You can go in there with your power fist damage, and then you can get some pistol shots in with the built-in bolter gauntlet. All very cool. But the reason I got him is because captains allow the unit that they're attached to use a stratagem at a discount. Sometimes free if the stratagem's only 1 point. And well, salamanders get a very cool stratagem where their flamer units can deal mortal wounds. And so I specifically got that captain to go with 6. I need a full 6-man squad of Primaris aggressors with some flamer fists, and because of that captain using that discounted stratagem, they'll be able to do mortal wounds with their flamer weapons, which is pretty badass. Those of you who aren't super familiar with the game, what a mortal wound means that it bypasses your saves, and that mortal wound cannot be saved in any way, which is pretty cool. So that captain and that aggressor squad is going to be strong because they're going to be able to do the mortal wounds, but also because the captain's got the power fist and all 6 of those aggressors have power fists, they're really going to pack a punch in melee as well. Then I've got also painted up separately here, but I've got 3 eradicators with Melta rifles, and one of them has the Melta. And of course, eradicators are the best Space Marine anti-tank in the game right now, because they can reroll all their hits, wounds, and damage against vehicle, and their damage is like D6 damage. So being able to roll, because one of the things that sucks is if you hit and wound a vehicle and then you're like, I need this big damage, and you did all that and it's for 1 damage, it's just like, But because of the eradicators, you can re-roll that and try and get more damage. It's pretty cool. And then finally, I said I did 10 intercessor bodies. 5 of them were intercessors. The other 5 are because I've got Infernus Flamers, and I'm going to be making those into Infernus Marines. Because again, Salamanders got to have Flamer and Melta, right? Anything that's fire-based, the Salamander's got to have it. Oh, one more thing. I still need to prime these up like I have the others, but I just finished working on these today. Inceptors with double plasma. 3 of them, they can deep strike within 3 inches of their target, and they can just deep strike within 3 inches because you could just take objectives right out from underneath your enemy, and also they can just deliver some fearsome plasma wounds with those double plasmas. So that's going to be cool. I didn't get a chance to prime it yet because I just got done working on their dynamic posing. I really hate the jump stands that run up their back and snap off. So what I've got here is I just drilled through their leg and built up some rocks to add some height because, because of the jump pack stands on the Inceptors. Normally they're sitting a bit taller. So I've used some rocks to build up some height. And then also I took some coat hanger and, took a piece of coat hanger, and it's gone up almost to the kneecap here, inside the kneecap of the Space Marine and down into all these layers of cork and plastic. And I just think that pose looks much more dynamic and much less flimsy, in my opinion, than that piece of plastic with the tiny connection point that usually goes back in the backpack. So that's what I've done this week. There is 2 weeks, 2 weeks-ish until Kane's birthday. And so now I've got to see if I don't want to neglect my BattleTech project. I'm going to keep working on that. But also going to get to see if I can I'm going to make it a project. I'm starting tomorrow. I would say tomorrow at 8, but I've taken about 2 hours to prime all these miniatures so far. So we're going to call it 10 o'clock. Starting at 10 o'clock tomorrow, because I've already used up 2 hours for priming. I'm going to give myself, see if I can get it all done in 1 week. Paint up 1,200 points of Salamanders. And, yeah. See if I can get that done for his birthday. And then I say 1 week because that'll give me time to go right back into, sometime next week my black primer comes in. And I can jump right back into Project Snow Raven. So, wish me luck, guys. You look dynamic and less flimsy. Why, thank you. Kayla and I have been working out. So that is, I think, is all my tabletop pork chop. It's a lot. I have been printing like a madman. But I'm so glad those prints came out well. Other pork chop things. I've been playing Overwatch, and I've been playing Overwatch I play with Overwatch with the missus almost every day, but I've been playing with the missus, and I played some with my daughter, and had a few days where actually Freak and I hooked up online, and me, my wife, and he played some Overwatch together on Discord, so that was cool. And I don't know if you guys are watching anything for Halloween, but we watched Halloween Kills, my missus and I. We watched Halloween Kills recently. And we watched the first Friday the 13th because she'd never seen it before. She wanted to learn more about these. That's actually how we jumped on the Halloween train. It's because she wasn't allowed to watch horror movies growing up, and so we went back so that way she could get introduced to some of these classic killers. Of course, it was disappointing for her when we watched the first Friday the 13th movie and Jason's not even in it. So, but I was like, yeah, okay, just wait till the next one. We'll get there. But yeah. So we've been doing that for Halloween. And also, I don't know if I have any Markiplier fans in the audience. Markiplier, is one of the few that are making that transition from just being social media giant to doing some legitimate, film production and acting. His TV show on Amazon Prime, The Edge of Sleep, is been out for about a week and a half now, and he's got a deal going on that his movie he's been working on, Iron Lung, may get a theatrical release if over a 30-day period The Edge of Sleep can average out in the top 10. And so it was going strong. It got up to number 4 at one point. I think it's just now off the top 10 list, but I've had it looping nonstop since then. So I definitely recommend people check it out. They want to see Markiplier do some serious acting. I think it's pretty cool to see him acting in something like that. Yeah. I feel like there was something else I was playing, but I've lost it. Oh, man, I meant to bring over my duel cards. I've been getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, and I've decided to build myself a Slifer the Sky Dragon deck. So now that means, Brother Roxas, we got to have ourselves a card night at some point. Just because I've been watching Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and that just made me want to play, break out the cards and play them again. And I was like, you know what? I never did anything with my Slifer. Slifer is technically in my Cyber Dragon deck, but he doesn't really fit Cyber Dragon because, I mean, with any of like the Synchro or Polymerization decks, if you're comboing, your hand is going to be emptying. And so most of the time, if I do get out Slifer, he's got like 1,000 attack points maybe. So I was like, maybe I should like do some research on some cards and try and purpose build him a deck. So that's something I've been into. I know miniature hobbyists and tabletop trading game or trading card game hobbyists are usually a far cry from each other, but that is something that's been interesting me lately. All right. I think I've been yapping about my hobby pork chop for a hot minute now. Yeah, I just do what I do and make a deck out of 20-year-old cards. Hey, man. I think my Red Eyes deck is mostly 20-year-old cards too, so I feel you. And in fact, I want to go back and make more classically themed decks. You know, I always stayed away from Dark Magician because Cloud and Tyler were, you know, in love with those cards, and Tyler's gone, so I may start messing with that one and the Blue Eyes. And yeah, I just may look into those cards. Well, going back and trying to make decks out of the classic themes, I think would be pretty cool. All right, we got some hobby news, which I think we got about 35 minutes left in the show, so now that I've been yapping for a while, it's probably a good time to start looking at some cool stuff. So I'm going to pull up some articles. Yeah, I did the same thing with Magic cards, going back and grabbing every one of my favorite old school cards. Nice! Yeah, man, we should definitely have a card night sometime soon. And just because I've been messing with my Yu-Gi-Oh cards lately, the Yu-Gi-Oh theme has been like really stuck in my head. My two favorite... Oh, I didn't know you were a fellow Duel Monsters player, Fish. My favorite decks were my Red Eyes, Black Skull, Dragon, Palmers. I had one! That was my first deck, brother. Specifically Black Skull Dragon. Like, I specifically built my first Red Eyes deck around Black Skull Dragon. That's so cool. I've updated it now, so my Red Eyes deck still includes Black Skull Dragon, but it's also got things like Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon and, you know, that kind of thing. Red Eyes Darkness Dragon. It's got some other cool stuff in there too, but definitely Black Skull Dragon is still one of the cores of the deck. And also Pumpkin Zombies. Very cool. That's awesome. Oh, Roxas, have you done any studying on the new Link summoning deck? Like, I've looked up tutorials, and it's still, like, my brain still hasn't fully latched on to pendulum summoning yet. And now looking at Link summoning, if you're understanding it, you always understand mechanics better than me. So I may need your help, like, you know, really getting down with some of the new mechanics, Brother Roxas. This one, I can't wait to actually, you know, so my brother Darklight and I were talking about at some point, if we can ever get the time. Time has just been one of those things that have been, it's kind of like synchros where materials are required on the card. Yeah, that part I get. It's the way that, like, first you only get one extra deck zone, but then Link cards, I think, unlock more extra deck zones. A lot of the new decks are all OTK. Oh, one-turn kills. Kindred Spirits, I haven't played in over a decade. Magic was my go-to, and I couldn't keep up with that, let alone Yugi. Not anymore. They got rid of that. Oh, okay. So now you can extra deck summon freely. Okay, cool. Okay, so now you just got to meet the. Now the only thing about Link cards is you got to meet the requirement. Cool. See, this is why I need a smart guy like you to help explain mechanics to me. But yeah, anyways, Darklight and I were talking about doing a podcast together. Between both of us enjoy video games, but he is definitely the more video game focused of the two of us. And of course, I enjoy he enjoys tabletop games, but he mostly only plays with me or with someone else. Like, not only will he play like Zombicide and stuff when he comes over, but also, like, he was the first one to buy House on the Haunted Hill, I think is what it's called. No, Betrayal at House on the Hill. And just some other board games they helped get us into. And anyways, but he likes tabletop games, just not as into them as myself. And so we thought if we did a podcast with him being more the video game expert, me being more the tabletop guy, I'm not going to call myself an expert. Yeah, I thought it'd be a fun little podcast of just two different types of gamers in point of view. But anyways, with this new Phoenix Lord for his Eldar coming out, he hasn't played in like 10 years. I did have him paint with me not too long ago. He was painting up Prince Uriel. I mean, you do spend a lot of time on your painting. This is true. This is true. But yeah, I'd love to show him the cool and updated Fuegan here. Every time I see Fuegan, I think of Dresden. Fuego! Dude, betrayal is my shiznit! That's awesome, brother. Man, we had such a good time playing at Betrayal House on the Hill. I was the in our last game we played, I was the betrayer that I found out towards the end. And it's so surprising when you find out that you're the you're the traitor. You're like, oh, you draw the card. It's like, the building was on fire, and this time it wasn't my fault. Oh man, if anyone you haven't read the Dresden Files books, that is I think that is my favorite cold opening to a book ever. The building was on fire, and this time it wasn't my fault. Every time I see Eldar, I think of the time I deep striked into Raz's death sites. Yeah, the D sides aren't they aren't as strong as they used to be, but they were tough back at 7th edition. We were right about halfway through the legacy version. My wife hates being the betrayer. I crave the shenanigans. I bet you do, man. I bet you do. So this is the new Fuegan model. I think it's super cool. Man, they really, like, his big fusion rifle was already big before, but I think it really got even bigger. Like, I think he's using a pump. I'm just saying. Swedish pumps and you. This is his bag, baby. If memory serves, he killed an entire squad of Terminators and Kaldor Drago in one round. Holy crap. Yeah, these sides were insane. I think because of how strong they were in 7th, they're one of the things that have been, like, they're usable, but they're not very good anymore. They have been nerfed into the ground. In fact, I don't even know if like meta Eldar players still take them. He isn't overcompensating. Swedish rifle enlargers and you. That's not my bag, baby. Autographed Austin Powers. Yes, this is my bag, baby. That might actually have been the last game I played. I can imagine, like, you deep strike in your best unit and it just gets instant deleted. That could be very demoralizing. And now he's back armed with the fire axe and his one-of-a-kind fire pike Seer Song, ready to eradicate the enemies of the Eldari in real space. So I currently have Raz's Eldar. I think we need to paint one of these up for his army, though. Fagin has a prophesized role to play in the Ranadandra, the end of all days. He is to gather the rest of the Phoenix Lords to fight this final battle against chaos, and he shall be the last to fall, his soul and those of his kin merging to birth Unid, the Eldari god of the dead, and usher in a new epic. Is this day coming? Indubitably. Is it soon? None can say, for the Eldari are a long-lived race, and what might seem imminent to them could be many generations away for a human. That is a good point. If he's supposed to be the herald of the end of days, and they're putting out a miniature for him, are they going to give us all of the Phoenix Lords now? Are we going to see a big return of all the Phoenix Lords? So, have you had enough time to heal from the wounds of the D-sides, Garrett? If I paint up your Grey Knights now, are you ready to get back into the battlefield? Especially since, you know, the man who played the D-sides has retired. It could be time. Like Rafiki says, it is time. All depends on if my codex is up to date. The codex is not out yet, actually. You are correct. There are free index rules, although it's actually, while the rules are free, might be a good time to learn. And if I get Primaris Marines. Hopefully so. Hopefully so. Those sculpts would look much better in Primaris size. I agree. I saw one of my favorite Warhammer content creators that used to work for Games Workshop. She put up on Instagram, Louise, someone who converted their entire Grey Knights army to look like different Gundams. It was pretty cool. Alright, we got some new kill team stuff coming here. Now this one confuses me. Okay, so we got a kill team starter set here. But if we look, the thing that worries me here is that the Marine kill team isn't really an actual force of anything. I just want Primaris Crow. Is that too much to ask for? I don't know why. When I see Garen, it makes me think of League of Legends. Ooh, I need to update that. I imagine it might be the same for the Death Guard here. I'm not familiar with Death Guard, though. But, like, okay, so you got a captain here. And you've got a heavy bolter guy. Now, if you had company heroes, then, you know, you could be a captain, the heavy bolter guy. The blade champion would need to be in here somewhere. I mean, possibly you could chop off this chain sword and put on a power sword. But see, so far, in most of this, like, you have one random eliminator here, a couple of intercessors, an assault intercessor, and heavy bolter guy from the from the veterans. It doesn't make any sense. Like, you have like a bunch of pieces of units here, except for the captain, who's a standalone character. What concerns me is that you used to be able to kill team box and use it for kill team, but then also go and use that unit in 40k. It was like 3 months ago, but me and Ethan were playing with Sunny. Nice. Heavy bolter guy makes me want a Space Marine squad painted like Team Fortress 2 classes. Nice. That's what I did with my assassins. Okay, hold on. Oh, I got the board game with the assassins, ended up using them in the game. I gotcha. Yeah, and see, that's cool. Usually you can use it in the game or in the tabletop 40k, you know, full 40k. But here you just have bits and pieces of squads, and the only thing you could legitimately use just out of the box is the captain. And that worries me, because if they start making this normal going forward, we have seen that in some cases they don't like to double dip their games. Which I think, because Warhammer is not a cheap hobby, I think having squads where you can double dip, hey, this is my kill team and it's also part of my army, that's helpful to get people into the game. The Death Guard heroes being repackaged as a kill team is hysterical. Oh, you know what? That probably, and now that you mention it, I think this is the Space Marine heroes as well. That's why it's so disjointed. That's just silly not being able to use them for both. Exactly. I hope that's not a trend that they plan to do going forward. Although, since, like Fish said, if it is just them repackaging the Space Marine heroes models, then maybe it won't be a trend. But yeah, it kind of feels bad having them just limited to the one game. The captain is a really good captain, but yeah, a bit silly. Here are some of the repackaged ones. Kazarkin, one of the best units for the Imperial Guard, and one of my favorite, you know, to come from Kill Team. I mean, obviously, the Kriegers Kill Team made a really great Kill Team box, but also a really great unit in the game. But the Kazarkin getting a new box is really sweet. The Phobos Strike Team, I really, really, really want to like Phobos. Their armor looks cool. Just in game, their stats are kind of meh to me. I think I'd rather just have regular intercessors or scouts. Space Marine Legionaries. So if you've got feeling the pull of chaos, then you know you could get the Legionaries here. The Pathfinders. Inquisitorial Agents. A lot of people picking this up, not really for the kill team, but so that way they have some super cheap objective doers as their allies in 40k. Chaos Cult, of course. They're also re-releasing some of the new Chaos Lords that came earlier in the year, but they took forever. They came out in these Battle Force boxes, and they took a long-ass time for them to get their own model, but finally they're getting their release of their own model. So this is the new Chaos Lord, which I think looks pretty pimp. I don't even like Chaos. Like, aesthetically or ideally, it's just not my theme. I've never been one to want to play the quote-unquote bad guys, you know? Like, it's just, you know, not my thing. Chaos, but I think that this particular model looks pretty cool. Chaos Lord with the jump pack. So if that's your thing, you know, it'll be out. And then this one, Inquisitor Long Trousers. This, I think, is, like, I have no nostalgia for the old way things looked in 40K because I just got into it in 8th edition. So I like a lot of the new resculpts more than a lot of people like the old stuff. However, I think this is the worst reimagining or, you know, new updated sculpt I've ever seen. This is awful. It literally looks like Wallace and Gromit's The Wrong Trousers. The Eagle getting its own model is pretty cool. Also, from the new releases, we've got a Black Templar story, The Broken Crusade. Pretty cool. Can also get a collector's edition. And for Orc fans, we have the Big Daka coming out. There's also the audiobook collection for Warhammer Horror. They always like to do this sale towards the end of the, or around October, for people wanting to get their spooks in a Warhammer style. I just want a new Primarch to be released. Which one are you hoping for, my brother? Honestly, I think the two that are most likely at the moment are Fulgrim and Russ. Korax, because he is one of the Codex chapters, I think he will be a hot minute from now. Hopefully they go do all of them. But right now they've represented Codex Space Marines with Gilliman, Dark Angels. So it seems like, you know, of course, Blood Angels, their Primarch is not available. He is indisposed. And so that really leaves Russ as the next one, loyalty-wise, to come back. And then after they've gone through all of them like that, then they'll probably come back and start hitting the Codex chapters like Korax, Vulcan, that kind of thing. Holidays are approaching. And one of people's favorite things for Warhammer during the holidays is getting their hands on the Red Gobbo. I have said that I'm going to get the Red Gobbo miniature for the last, I don't know, 3 years. Ever since the big one on the Squig was the first one that I was like, I really have to have that model. Would you know that I have never picked one up just because they come out around the holidays? And holidays, of course, is when I stop buying things for myself because, you know, it's Christmas, right? Our money's got to go other places. But also, just like even after gifts and stuff like that are bought and stuff like that and exchanged, it's just like money is still really tight around the holidays, you know? So I just keep saying I'm going to get one. This one is okay. It's not as fun as I think some of the previous ones, but I like the little snowman. I like the bombed up snowballs. It's fun. I think I like the previous years a little more, but still, I always like the Red Gobbo models. But yeah, what do you guys think? I love that they've got this whole stash here of snowballs. And like I said, I do love the snowman, but I didn't see before when I was looking at this that the snowman was hiding a bomb. A big-ass bomb. And I like the little addition of like the alarm clock style timer for the bomb. That's so, you know, traditional cartoon. I'm especially since it's 3 holidays in 2 months, or if you include Halloween. Oh, exactly. And then on top of that, um, October is my wedding anniversary, my youngest daughter's birthday, November's my birthday, December is my oldest daughter's birthday, and on top of that, we've got all the regular holidays. It's just like just the end of the year. Things are just tight. But yeah, I love the little additions here. Little bomb top, the very like Looney Tunesy style alarm clock timer for the bomb. It's cool. It's so hard to imagine that the Red Gobbo started off like a, you know, almost like a communist renegade role in the lore of the Red Gobbo, and with the orcs and the goblins, and somehow he's become a Christmas mascot. It's cool though. It's a very nice model. I need to go back and see if I can get my hands on some of the previous Red Gobbo miniatures. And that, I think, is... Oh, it's not all my articles. I have one more, which I meant to send to my missus before this very moment. But we can still talk about it later. So, earlier this year, I mentioned that Brother Alice and I went to a narrative event at a convention called the War Dome. And the War Dome, it might be because I'm hammered, but you say Raven Guard aren't a Codex chapter? No, because they are a Codex chapter. And the Codex chapters already have Gilliman representing the Primarch of Codex chapters, which means it'll probably keep going down the line. Gilliman's there for the Codex chapters currently. And so then they came out with the Lion, so that's one of the non-Codex chapters, right? And then Blood Angels would have been next, but their Primarch is tragically unavailable, right? They came out with the new Sanguinor model, though. And then it seems most likely the next Loyal one, continuing down that theme, will be Leman Russ, the next non-Codex compliant chapter. And then eventually they'll probably come back around to the Codex chapters and do things like Raven Guard, Salamanders. They'll bring back Vulcan and Korax and possibly Dorn, all that kind of stuff. Jagatai. So, the War Dome, the convention that I went to earlier this year, they announced that they will be returning in 2025, next year, on April 26th through 27th, which is good for me. They also spelt Texas wrong, did they? Okay, I'll look. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. This works out well for me because last year it was super close to my wife's birthday. Next year it'll be 26th and 27th, so not not as close as before. We'll have our 40K GT tournament, our 40K narrative event, an old world event, Flames of War, Blood Bowl, Horus Heresy, Pathfinder, Starfinder, and Dungeons and Dragons, and Conquest. Plus a plethora of new vendors, a paint and take event, and a few surprises to come. Ooh, I wonder if there'll be time to take part in the paint and take, as well as doing the narrative event. Tickets are live for the 40K GT, the narrative event, and the Horus Heresy events. Tickets for all other events will go on live on November 4th. Get your tickets as soon as you can, so we must assure that these will sell out, plus prices will go up in April. New dice and coins for every attendee will be given out this year, as well as a goodie bag for each event that will be packed full of wonderful items from some great vendors. Nice. We will have 3 raffles this year: a Knight Lance, 2 Eldari Titans, painted by Aaron Kellman. I'm not sure who that is, but I'm sure they're a fantastic painter. and a group of adventurers. Look forward to seeing everyone there and making this a bigger and better than last year. Tickets can be purchased here. Oh, okay, War Dome, New Caney, Texas without the A. I see it now. Interesante. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to get with my missus because Atlas and I were already talking about how, you know, we hope it comes back. We really loved going to the previous one, and I'm hoping to go to the next one. So that is something I wanted to show. And of course, you know, if any of you happen to be in Texas next year around April and you feel like going to this, you know, small convention here, it is a small convention. It is definitely not going to be any, you know, Gen Con or anything like that. It is definitely, this is very much a very new, very small convention, but it was definitely very enjoyable. But yeah, check it out. Damn, New Caney made it on the map. We getting famous. Man, I got to tell you, going to a convention that was 15 minutes from the house was pretty nice. Small cons are the best cons. I agree. Like I said, if anybody happens to find themselves in Texas during this time, you know, this would be a really fun place to meet up at. So that is the last bit of news, and that we're going to leave it off on. Boop. Boop. So yeah, some pretty cool stuff coming up, not only miniatures wise, convention wise too. That's pretty cool. I definitely would love to paint up a Fuegan and add it to my brother's Eldar army. I've had that army for a hot minute, and I'm pretty sure my brother's going to stay retired, so I probably should do something with that army. Yeah, painting up a brand new Phoenix Lord for that army might be a great way to, you know, to do that. So I've got, you've seen, I have a major start on a challenge to see if I can paint up 1,200 plus points of salamanders for Kane in 1 week. And so then we're going to jump back onto Project Battletech. And then on top of that, I may start adding in some things to the queue. Like, who knows? Maybe we'll start working on more of Brother Garrett's Grey Knights. So that way his force can be ready to go by the time his Codex comes out. Or at the very least, he'll have his base force. And with his Codex, we can see what we need to add to it. And then also, you know, Brother Garrett, I've got this thing here, you know. We could always... Your birthday's in December? Oh my gosh. So I'm speeding now to do a 1 week challenge for Kane. Your birthday's in December. Okay. Oh man. All right. We'll see. Not that, you know, I mean, nothing. I'm not doing anything, you know, nothing. But yeah, we will see, guys. We will see. All right, guys. It is 10 o'clock. We're going to leave off here. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. And guys, I really appreciate, you know, all your interaction in chat tonight. You know, it has been a very active chat tonight, and I really appreciate you guys being here. I actually watched the show. Gonna have to be careful of what you say. Oh yeah, definitely. You know, with Kane, I was feeling pretty confident. Like, yeah, I could paint up salamanders on the show, and not really. You know, Kane probably won't have any the wiser. But you pop in quite a bit, and you're usually, thankfully, which I appreciate, very active in chat. You know, we always have good conversations, and I do know if I do anything and I want it to stay on the cool, it better not be on the show. Oh man. But yeah, I appreciate all of you being so active in chat tonight, guys. This has been a really good hangout tonight. I had a little bit of a headache earlier, and I was like, oh man, you You know, I'm not even in a great mood, you know, with this headache and all. Do I even want to do the show? But man, just like always, I pop into the chat and it's a good time, which I really appreciate you guys and your company. If you guys like tonight's episode, please make sure that you grab up a box and smash that like button in the name of the Emperor. Drop me some comments down below and feel free to be of any of tonight's ridiculous conversations. Let me know if you guys are interested in any of the cool new things coming up to be released. And if you guys are not yet subscribed to any of the channels and our friends at the Frost and Fist below, and if you're not subscribed to this guy, then man, we would love to have you as part of the pack, part of this hobby family here on the Frost and Fist. Till next time, guys, stay frosty.